Hello and welcome to the Suzanne and Sarah YouTube channel. I'm Suzanne and I am a local realtor here in beautiful sunny Bend, Oregon with Realty One Group Discovery and the founder of the Central Oregon Investor Network, which brings together investors not only from Central Oregon, but from all over the country to learn from one another, share resources, and create more passive income in our lives through real estate investments. So today we are going to talk about how to read and understand the preliminary title report that you get during any real estate transaction. Hello everyone, welcome to the Suzanne and Sarah YouTube channel. I'm Suzanne Moore.
And I'm Sarah Willis. We are Central Oregon's investment and real estate experts.
So real estate transactions involve a multitude of documents, lots of paperwork, and one very critical document that plays a really important role in your transaction is the preliminary title report. It is a very important piece of the puzzle that can really impact the entire outcome of a property deal. It can actually be a deal breaker, and we have experience and examples of that. So in today's video, we will explore what you need to know about preliminary title reports and how to read them and understand them. So before we dive into how to read a preliminary title report, let's first understand what it is. And essentially, the preliminary title report is a document that is generated by the title company that provides an overview of the current state of the property's title. So that includes information about the property's ownership history, any existing liens or mortgages, sometimes called encumbrances, and if there are any conditions that must be met for the title company to issue title insurance. So the key components of a preliminary title report. The main things you'll see on the first page or so is the property description. So it'll be very specific and it'll talk about the section and the parcel and all the things. So it's a very detailed description of the property that originated probably from an early survey of when the property was subdivided. So it will include the legal description of the property as well as the physical address. The preliminary title report will also include the current owner's information and their vesting or ownership interest in the property. So that's the basic stuff. Now we get into the juicy stuff, which is the exceptions to title insurance coverage. So the title company will insure the title, but these things are not insured. So that means that they will remain on the title for you as the buyer and for all future owners unless they are cleared through title. So let's talk about what a couple of these things are. The first one is liens or encumbrances, also known as mortgages. So this outlines any loans against the property or liens. So if there's a construction lien, somebody, maybe a construction worker did work on the property and a prior owner never paid that person, that construction person can file a lien against the property. So that's just one example, but unpaid property taxes are another really important lien to be on the lookout for. And if there are unpaid property taxes, it needs to be made very clear in the sales document who is going to pay those unpaid property taxes. Is it you, the buyer, or is it the seller? Another thing that would show up as liens or encumbrances is if there are any judgments against the current or previous owners. Those are things like lawsuits. So those are things to watch out for. We don't see them very often, but when they do come up, they're a big deal. And you have to be able to navigate and get those things cleared or decide if the deal is right for you. The next one is a big one. We have a separate video all about easements and restrictions and boundary lines and surveys. So if you want information about all those things, go to that video. We'll link it here. Easements and restrictions. The preliminary title report will note any recorded easements or restrictions that affect the property. Things that would show up here are what are called CC&Rs, and that stands for conditions, covenants, and restrictions. And what those are generally, if there's a recorded document when the neighborhood was formed and there are specific things that owners can and cannot do with their property, that gets recorded as a CC&R, and then those are limitations of your use of that property. So this can happen even if there's no HOA. I want to be really clear. CC&Rs exist with HOAs and on their own, although there is no governing body that would be enforcing them necessarily. So definitely make sure that if there are links in the preliminary title report to those easements and restrictions, to click on them and read the documents. And sometimes those CC&Rs are like 120 pages long or longer. So these are really important, and these are exceptions to the title insurance. Title insurance commitment essentially is the conditions that must be met for the title company to issue a title insurance policy, and typically includes requirements like the payment of outstanding liens or the removal of specific encumbrances. All right, so now you've got some of those key terms in your mind. How do you read and interpret a preliminary title report? So first, you want to look at that property information. Verify that the property description matches the property you intend to purchase, and ensure that the legal description is accurate. And one way to do that is to go to the county records website. Here in Central Oregon, that website is nicknamed DIAL, for Deschutes County Information System, and it's a great resource where you can match those things up. The next one is ownership. Make sure that the current owner's name is correct. Again, you would find that on DIAL, and confirm that it matches the seller's name on the purchase agreement, the person you're purchasing the property from. Liens and encumbrances. We talked about this already, but this is really important, and you want to pay attention to this section. Look for any outstanding debts or obligations associated with a property, and it's really important to understand what financial burdens you may inherit as the new owner if they are not cleared during the transaction. Easements and restrictions. Again, you want to make sure you understand what these restrictions are, because sometimes they can limit the use for your property. So one example of a restriction that might come up in just a straight up CC&R, not even an HOA, is the restriction of nightly rentals. So maybe the CC&Rs say you can only rent the property for 30 days or more, meaning short-term rentals are not an option. So even if the property shows as eligible on the short-term rental map for Deschutes County, it is possible that the CC&Rs would restrict your use of the property to rentals only 30 days and more. So that's just one example. There's tons of things that can be in CC&Rs that might limit your use. So those are things you definitely want to read through. They're long documents, they're very involved, and they're very important for you to know what your rights are and aren't as a property owner. So what do you do after you review the preliminary title report? Well, if there's any question or concern that you have, or if you just simply don't understand what you are reading, then call the title company first. They run these reports every single day, and they can help explain what things mean. They are absolutely the experts. Now, if they explain something to you and you're surprised by it or you don't understand it, they may refer you to a real estate attorney who would be able to advise you as to how this issue on the title report could affect you as a future owner of the property. You can also consult your real estate agent. However, real estate agents are not licensed to interpret preliminary title reports, so we do recommend that you speak with the experts first, and we will always let you know, at least Sarah and I will, if we see any potential red flags that you may want to investigate further. If you find something on the preliminary title report that is concerning to you, you may need to negotiate with the seller to address those issues. So those would be outstanding liens, a construction lien, a tax and unpaid tax lien, or unresolved title problems. And finally, proceed with your due diligence. This is just one part of your due diligence, the preliminary title report. So make sure that you're continuing with your inspections and investigations to make sure that you are making a informed decision. So just to wrap it up today, in any real estate transaction, the preliminary title report is a very important document that provides a ton of information about the property's ownership history, any liens, mortgages, or other things that might restrict your use of the property. So you want to carefully read and understand the preliminary title report and seek professional and legal advice when needed. These are very important things to understand, and you want to make sure that you are making an informed decision about your property investment. So thank you for joining us today. Please like and subscribe to our channel here, and we will be sure to bring you lots more great tips on property investing, purchasing your home, and selling your home, whether it's in Central Oregon or beyond. Thank you, everyone.